All right. It is Sunday again. It means it's time to do a little reflection reading off of my Thoth reading. So if you're not familiar, every Sunday right now I am doing a reading with my Rider-Waite deck as a context to an overarching reading that I'm having in my whole life right now, which is the Queen of Discs in the present, the Prince of Discs. Oh my god, I always make that fucking mistake. The Queen of Discs in the past, the Prince of Discs in the present, the Chariot in the future, and then I had Strength inverted on the bottom of the deck. Plus, I describe it this way because I've had this occur every once in a while when I do a 4-card reading and I see the one that's on the bottom of the deck. Every once in a while I'll see the Fool underneath that one. I'm like, okay, I refer to that as the Fool giggling. It's just this little relationship I've built with the card specifically. However, strangely enough, the video that I initially posted this reading on was about the power of a mystery. And I'm going to get into that a little bit. But underneath the Fool was adjustment or temperance. This here is the strangest mystery in the tarot of the modern day, according to Aleister Crowley, the creator of this deck. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about what the cards meant, but I've already done one reflection reading on them, so I'm going to try and do another one now. My roommate's playing Halo Infinite. He's so mad. I get it. Shit. All right. I always do this at the beginning of my readings. I did shuffle this a little bit. I have a ritual that I usually do for shuffling my decks that not sure I totally want to put on camera, just because it's personal. But I always do a little bit of a shuffling like that afterward. But yeah. I know nothing. Thank you, Spirit. All right, so in the past, the 5 of Pentacles. I don't actually think I've ever drawn this card while using the Rider-Waite. I really like it, though. You know, it's almost like they're laboring and suffering for this idea of reward in the future or in the afterlife. And I see that with, he's crippled, she's clearly sickly, and then the stained glass, which is, in my mind, is a church. That is associated with the Queen of Discs, for my personal reading. Oh, the 3 of Swords. Love this card, right? Very classic card. Yeah, this is interesting. See, part of the reason why this is associated with the Prince of Discs, but part of the reason why I don't do readings online for other people, like typical tarot content, despite the fact that I consume a ridiculous amount of that content, I love it, is because I don't feel like I fully have an understanding of the tarot enough to sit here and try to tell you about your life. But I think part of my purpose spiritually is to talk about my journey, share it with others, and translate spiritual information into the physical world. But moving on, let's get all the cards out. Wow, the 2 of Cups inverted. Huh. I actually got this card face up in the past position on the first reflection reading I did for this. Okay. And on the bottom of the deck is the 6 of Pentacles face up. I'm going to say that there better not be no Fool under there. Okay, there isn't. Yeah, so we'll go over first impressions, and then I have a couple things that I've written over the past couple days that I'll get into as well. Yeah, so like what I said with my first impression with this one, and how it relates to this Queen of Discs. Discs is Earth, as well as Pentacles in this. So there's a commonality in the suit. But like I said, my first impression is laboring for a reward that isn't coming to you instantly, right? It's almost a glorification of suffering, perhaps. That suffering can be noble. And a lot of the themes that I had with the Queen of Discs with this reading has been about the physical realm having a desire to participate in the great work of creation. Now that's I realize that's a lot, but the great work of creation is essentially just our elevation as a species spiritually, and the changing of things, right? And I spent all the years of my life leading up to this point in this place of spiritual, just, whatever was adequate for me. But it's a part of my purpose as deigned by the stars at the moment of my birth that I am meant to do this spiritual work. I'm not meant to just leisurely live through this life. I will, however, because I don't really know the card that well, I will look. I have this book I got from my dad. So let's look at the Five of Pentacles. In this card, you see that there are two poor figures out in the snow, dressed in rags. There is a window with the Five of Pentacles behind them, but they don't seem to notice it. This pretty much depicts the feeling of the card. There is a sense of loss, but more than that, there's also a feeling of being abandoned, left out in the cold, and feeling something is missing. However, is this self-inflicted or has something been done to them? So with it upright, it says the Five of Pentacles always conveys a sense that something is lacking in your life. Whether spiritually, emotionally, or physically, there is something that you need and don't have yet. If you are feeling abandoned by people or circumstances that have left you feeling less than whole, take heart that this card shows that it is time to go and discover what is missing. Show self-care. Some self-care is called for here, so look out for yourself first. Yeah, I have been in this state lately of feeling like something is coming towards me. I don't know how else to explain it really much than that, but my response to that feeling has been to rest, has been to take care of my body. And this is interesting because I think this kind of speaks to, I grew up Catholic, this speaks to my disillusionment with the church, I think. And my friend's calling me. 1 second, G. I want to answer you, but I'm doing something. This also, within the context of, that's the context of being the past. But here, with this being a reflection reading about, I guess, where I've moved from the previous reflection upon this overarching reading, I definitely feel like I've noticed over the past week that in spite of how good I feel about the steps I'm taking on this spiritual journey, there is still something missing. I have a couple theories about what that is that I'm going to start working on and incorporating more. For instance, I need to do something physical, right? Because I'm noticing that this spiritual work is really balancing out the male and female energies within me because I'm doing it every day, little by little, right? And now that I feel more of a balance in it, in my male and female energies, it's like they're both more free to express themselves. Like I find myself taking pictures of myself and looking in the mirror and wow, I'm such a bad bitch. And I'm like, but I feel the same way when I'm looking in the mirror fucking flexing, right? And that's kind of a new thing for me. That's sort of a harvest of this spiritual journey so far is like doing the work every day will just provide a sense of balance. It just will. you know, because I'm actually participating in my spiritual journey now. I do think, though, that what's probably missing is a physical aspect, is me working my man muscles, you know? Or maybe just my brain. Maybe it could be working out. I've been thinking about going to do jujitsu with my cousin. I definitely think that if I don't start integrating a physical aspect into the practice soon, it's going to start to fall behind. I definitely get that sense that it's time. It's definitely time to integrate some sort of physical aspect to the practice. Because it kind of feels like that's what's missing. Anyways, let's, for the Three of Cups in the present, as it relates to the Prince of Discs, I'm struggling a little bit, actually, with my initial interpretation. I think my first thing, just based on symbolism, is there are a lot of potential distractions for me right now. There's low-key a lot of, I almost don't want to describe it this way, but it's the only way I can. There are spiritual attacks coming after me, especially at night, now that I've begun the journey. You know, I see my vulnerability here too. The strength inverted. My vulnerability as strength. Because the heart is still vibrant, despite the fact that swords have pierced it. If anything, it gives it more context, right? It's kind of weird, actually. Maybe that doesn't make sense. I'm gonna look up the card. Okay. Okay, the Three of Swords. Obviously, this card is known as the card of heartbreak. You can see the three swords piercing the heart, illustrating your hurt and disappointment. Maybe there is a third person in your relationship, a betrayal of the heart. You may be able to finally get to the heart of the matter and work out what to do if you can be honest with yourself. There are a lot of feelings of loss, hurt, injustice, and rejection. So if you need to cry, then do. Don't hold on to negative emotions. Okay. Oh, when the Three of Swords shows up in a reading you're about to have or have just had some kind of emotional trauma. Although you have had good reason to feel disappointed, you may have often been over-dramatizing the situation. The good thing about this card is you can use it to access what is really going on and start to heal your wounds. Open your heart and feel. Yes. This is the strength and vulnerability. Because I did experience a little bit of heartbreak recently. My girlfriend of about a year and a half to 2 years and I split up a couple days before I started making videos. It just kind of reached a point where I realized that I couldn't give her what she needed. And I've stayed in relationships because I thought that I could one day perhaps give a woman what she needed. But instead of doing that and continuously hurting her, I made the decision to break things off because of a lack of compatibility. And you know, like that compatibility wasn't there in the beginning. I mean, the compatibility was there. You know, it's just like I've realized that it takes more than compassion and love and a connection with someone to build a life with them, right? Like building a life with someone, I think I'm realizing has a little bit more to do with what you are as opposed to who you are. And I'm not really anything yet. By that I mean I'm not what I want to be. I'm still in school. Even though I'm 28, I just started. I've had a spiral path as opposed to a straight line. But my emotions have been my guide at every step of the way. My vulnerability has always been my strength. And since then, I mean, obviously, whenever I was going through the process of figuring out what I had to do in the relationship, before I decided to end it, I was going through a lot of emotions, obviously. And then afterwards, right, a lot of nostalgia. And to some degree, I have to admit, because of the spiritual path, those emotions have not died off. they just become almost like my natural state. And they're not focused on one specific thing. You know, it's almost like there's this water flowing through me now. This infinite water. And I can access it whenever I want. And that's my power. That's a part of how I move and how I alchemize. And speaking of, with the inverted Two of Cups. In my mind, with this being in the future, with it being the pair to the Chariot here, I see that my path there was a chance, and if you would have said about me a couple years ago, or even a couple months ago, Nay will never be able to get out from under the thumb of his or their relationships. Their relationships will always define them. If you would have said that about me, you would have been right. Like, I never would have been able to get out from the foot of my own codependent boot. But I really do feel that on this journey, I've discovered something. I've discovered something that is a perfect system, right? You see how he's on the chariot, but he's not holding the reins, right? The pillars are here, they hold up the sky, and they are drawn by four as well, right? A sphinx, a man or angel, eagle, and a lion. Or that's a lion, that's the bull. Right. It's lion, eagle, man, and bull. Those creatures also represent a lot of different things, but they represent everything acting in perfect unison. And when these things are acting, and you can look at these as spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, right? When those things are aligned, my will and my destiny become the same thing. And this speaks to the energy I have to maintain in order. This speaks to the energy of the entire journey. You know, I've been filling up my own cup. I've been filling up others' cups with energy that is meant for myself. And, you know, I may be alone for a little bit. That's what I'm reading from this card. It may be good and beneficial and inevitable for me to be alone for a little bit. Not in a relationship at the very least, right? That's a part of the alchemy of this journey. My phone is about to die, so I do want to finish this reading. And I'm almost done. Actually, let me go grab a charger. Fuck it. Because I want to talk about some stuff in my book as well. Oh shit, I probably should have done this before, huh? Anyways, if you only saw what I just had to do to stand up the camera like this. Okay. So, the final card of the reading. Actually, before I get to the final card, I actually want to read some of the stuff that I've been writing about this past week. Yes. I have been really struggling with the concept of a soulmate recently. Because I was afraid at the beginning of the week that my attachment to this idea of that there's a soulmate out there for me may actually be what's holding me back. Because I get into relationships and I'm like, oh, I'm trying to fit this person into being my soulmate, essentially. You know, and then I craft this dream, and then I convince both of us of it. I sound like an asshole. It's just hard. You know, it's hard to know when you're doing the right thing. You know, especially in the pursuit of love. A true love. you know, and but I've learned now that it's important for me to hold on to my idea of love. That my idea of love is correct. It just need to hold it loosely. That it's the expectations I'm placing on this idea of a soulmate that are causing me to suffer. I want it to happen this way, this person. But I need to be able to stand on my own 2 feet while I move forward. And I want someone to approach me to do the same thing. I want somebody to already feel safe, you know? Because then, you know, when I don't feel safe, when I don't feel nourished, I know that whether I like it or not, I will put pressure on my partner in order to give me that nourishment. I've done it before. I've just done it before. Like, I know that I do that. And I can't do that anymore. It's just not acceptable. It's not an acceptable way to engage in a relationship. Even if you leave the relationship and everything's chill. You know what I mean? So yeah, okay, I'm gonna pause this. Uh, so the idea of a soulmate is important to but my expectations are making me suffer. So yeah, the feelings I have during what feels like setbacks are excellent indicators of what drives me. Yes. So all these feelings I've been having about in regards to nostalgia and I guess so I was also experiencing a lot of nostalgia early in the week too. Oh, wow. That's awesome. So yeah, I definitely feel like I've been experiencing a lot of emotional setbacks. And I think that's kind of the energy of the 2 of Cups in reverse. Is like my emotions get the better of me a lot of time. Like for instance, I experience a little bit of anger issues. And we all do to some degree, right? Like when things don't really work out. That's kind of the extent of it. Um, but I get really frustrated with mundane things, and I think part of that is like being diagnosed ADD. Uh, and I notice that like when I'm sitting there having nostalgia or I'm feeling like things aren't working out. Like for instance, I was trying to write something in my journal the other day and the pen would not fucking work. It just wouldn't work. And I can't I know I shouldn't react this way. Right? I'm like sitting here breaking pens because I'm like this throwing them around my room. And I stop for a moment. I'm like, okay, why am I this upset though? I'm like, oh, because what I'm writing in my journal right now is vitally important to my spiritual journey. And I feel like something's getting in the way. And I get really upset when I feel like things are in the way of my spiritual journey or they're distracting me. And it kind of teaches me that it's always at the back of my mind. Everything is spiritual, too. So yeah. Last week I had kind of worked out like 4 things to focus on. That was actually at the beginning of this journey. So gratitude and opportunities and how I look at my opportunities. Another thing to focus on was my strengths and my testimony. So my strength being my vulnerability and this as my testimony. My love life, my loved ones, specifically where I feel unconditional love from others. And my calling and my purpose, which is to translate spiritual information into the physical realm. I worked out 4 sets of instructions, kind of, that kind of go in line with them, with those things to focus on. So the first one, the instruction for gratitude and opportunities, and how I look at them is to don't let a setback become a blowback. And this is something I've really been struggling with. Like, just this little things fucking setting me off, right? And then I make these little moments into these tower moments where everything falls apart. That is like what I just do naturally. And I do it so quickly that I have to catch myself being like, it's not that fucking bad. It's not that bad. Right? And it could be a situation that's not that big of a deal, but because of my reaction to it, it becomes much bigger. That happens all the fucking time to me. All the time. Then, my strength and testimony. So, the instruction for that, the instruction for the second thing, which is my strength and my testimony, is that the flame must be tended properly. So what I mean by that is, when I talk about tending the flame, I mean not just the content I consume, but the content I'm putting out. You know, like it's important that when I put out a video that it's raw. It's really important to me because that is where my strength lies, in the rawness of my interpretation and my authenticity, remaining authentic while also tending the flame, right? So there's a too much there and a too little, and I want to remain right there in the middle. And then the third of my love life and where the unconditional love, my third instruction was to stand my ground as I keep moving forward. I've experienced some, I know my family loves me unconditionally, and I've experienced some fucking turmoil with them. Friends too, to some degree. Less, obviously, than family, but just because there's levels of this shit. But standing my ground and keep moving forward is about living in a way that's not codependent anymore, too. My calling, my purpose. I have to catch myself before I fall. That's the fourth instruction. And this kind of relates to what I was talking about earlier about feeling like sometimes I get spiritually attacked at night. I don't know how else to fucking put it other than that, y'all. When I rise with the sun and I greet it and I'm thinking about spiritual stuff all day and I'm feeling good. As soon as the sun comes down, it's like I'm in a different world somehow, but only for a moment. And then the feeling is gone. It's really weird. And I don't even want to get into that because I know that's woo-woo shit. And a huge part of this for me is refining and integrating the spiritual into the physical. Part of that is finding the right words. And I also don't want to fall out of it because of my ego. And I think that's kind of the biggest danger is like I don't think I'm going to have trouble staying authentic. Because I that's what I do. I'm going to have trouble like going a little too far. On that note, actually, let's talk about this final card. So with the Strength inverted and the Six of Pentacles here. When I look at the Six of Pentacles, initially what I see is there's a sort of power over earthly matters here. Not just that, but there's like a hierarchy to it as well. I don't know. This is a hard one for me to. I don't really know what to interpret from this one. I'm not really familiar with the card. Let's look it up. Six fucking Pentacles. This card is known as the card of the gift. You can see the person with wealth giving to one of the beggars while holding the scales of justice in the other hand. It shows that there are some people who get and some who do not. But more than that, someone makes those choices. It is a card of give and take. So the importance of the scales is also one of balance. Balance of power and wealth, as well as giving and receiving. Oh, great. Pick my fucking nose in it. Sorry, y'all. Being upright, you may be out to receive a gift of money in some way when this card shows up in your reading. But equally, it can be that you are in need of giving as much as you are of taking, especially in matters of the heart. Ah, that's interesting. There may be an imbalance that needs to be addressed. However, don't be afraid to ask for what you need in life at this time. You may be pleasantly surprised by what you are given. Yeah, that is so interesting. Wow. But it equally can be that you are in need of giving as much as you are taking, especially in matters of the heart. So I definitely see that side of it for myself here, more than I'm about to receive something. Because, you know, you always want to think you're about to receive something, right? Especially some money. But I definitely sense that this is about my offering. Oh, Buggy. That a part of what I can offer in these videos, a part of what's valuable about these videos, is that I want to be able to share my view of the world. And I want to see if this view of the world has any veracity. If this flame within burns in other people too. I think it does. I think it's the same flame that we all have. But we've been made to forget. And we've been made to forget in a really subtle way, right? Because the way they made us forget what we are is by telling us what they think we are. Because what we are is a mystery. You are not supposed to know the noumena, only the phenomena, right? But that's the power of a mystery. You don't contemplate a mystery to understand it, to solve it. You contemplate it because it's unsolvable. But by trying, it changes your mind. It changes your heart. You become like the mystery. That's what I want to be. I don't want to figure things out. I'm not making videos to say, hey, look, I figured it out. I'm like, yo, it's a fucking mystery. It's all a mystery. Stop acting like you know what the fuck is going on, okay? Because you don't. That's the point. You're not supposed to know. You're supposed to guess. You're supposed to create your own version. Everyone has a job in the great work. Everyone has a true will. And only you can discover what that is. Only you, by contemplating the mystery of creation, can you understand your place in it. And it's the strangest thing to find something within because of a mystery. And I know it may even sound weird if you're not familiar with some of these topics. And I am in the midst of creating something. And how about you shut it? And how about you shut it? How about you be? I know this looks like jumbled nonsense, okay? I know. It's even backwards, okay? Because, I'm just recording this video. But please hear me out when I say I'm working on something, okay? I'm working on a way to bring a map of the other side back. I'm going to make another video on it. Another separate video because it's important. But this is not like, this is not a casual reading for me or a casual journey. I made a video yesterday about my worldview and how it informs my work. And I'll summarize it in this way. Betty, you want to go out of the room? Here, Betty. But I fully believe that humanity, regardless of the circumstances of the struggle, has been in a struggle for agency and for our autonomy for as long as history has been written. And I'm creating a deck, a tool, as a contribution to this fight for our autonomy, even for our spiritual autonomy too. Because I think that's what's important. It's important that each of us does our job. And right now I'm still trying to really figure out what mine is, the exact details of it. But I know that I experienced something like a real spiritual awakening over the summer. And what came to me was a tapestry of meaning that weaves its way back into itself recursively in the same way that somehow the divine does. It's like a crystallization of the answers within. I'm still working on it, and I know that's a fucking lofty thing to say. I get it. But I really fully believe that that's what I was brought here to do. That's why I'm able to do it, because I've built for it. In fact, I'm so fucking built for transferring spiritual information into the physical realm that it's literally the only fucking thing I know how to do. It's the only thing I know how to do. So I'm trying to understand it. That's why I'm making videos. That's why I'm recording. That's why I'm doing everything I can. Because it's urgent. We are in a state of confusion in the world right now because there are things occurring around us that we don't really have language for. It's part of what I'm trying to do too, is like create language for things that I feel, because that's the weird thing about being human, right? There are pains without names. And feelings that language could never do justice. There is a joy so ancient that it's incomprehensible. Yeah, I don't know where that went. This always happens. It's like at some point my language just switches into like the mythic stuff. It's like, I don't know. But this is fun. This was a fun one. Anyways, I'm probably gonna make a video about my tarot deck a little bit later. I'm still working on it though, and I have a D&D game to play later. So, but I love you, and thanks for watching.